Hello, everyone. Welcome and thanks for taking part in this Fasten Off Yarn-a-Long designer interview by watching. I'm Josiane, my pronouns are she, her, and today I am happy to be meeting Jordann from Double N Knits. Jordann, could you please introduce yourself and tell us a little about your design business?
Hi, so I'm Jordan. My pronouns are also she, her. Um, I learned to knit when I was a kid from my mom. I'm at least a fourth generation knitter, I feel like. And crochet, but I don't really crochet. Taught to crochet. But so in like high school and college, I really picked back up knitting a lot, and I was knitting blankets, and my house was getting filled with blankets, and I was like, okay, I need to get things out of my house. Was essentially was going to go on, and so I was like, do you know what? I'm going to start selling things, and I very passionately felt that if I was going to be selling things to other people, that they should be my designs, that I shouldn't be taking someone else's design and then selling it. So that's really what got me into doing knit design because I wanted to, first of all, get things out of my house, but I wanted to knit and I wanted to knit things I enjoyed and then have it be my own design. So that's kind of where my design process started. And that was about like 9 years ago.
Interesting. Yeah, so that desire to make sure that the stuff you were, well, the items you were selling were truly original and yours.
Hmm.
So that's what got you started there. Oh, I love that. And you know, is there anything that makes your design unique and uniquely yours? What's your consideration? What do you have at the back of your mind when you design?
Yeah, so um, shortly after I started designing, I had my first kid, and I found you can't really do complicated knitting when you have kids because you have to constantly put it down, and you might be like, "Ooh, I have a minute to knit," so you want to just like pick up and knit, and you can't really, take all that mental energy to do some complicated design. So I really keep that in mind with my design. I really want them to be things that you can really clearly see the pattern that you can just pick it back up again and put it down very easily and not be worried. And yes, there are definitely times like, give me a second, I need to finish this. But for the most part, that's what I want my designs to be, are just um, very, in a way, repetitive, and then also just easily able to see where it's going so that you can put it down and pick it up as you need to with life's distractions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think a lot of knitters can relate to that. And can you tell us anything about your sources of inspiration? Where do you draw from?
So I'll show an example. So I have a market bag pattern. And that came from me seeing all the crochet market bags and me being like, I can do that with knit. There's got to be a way I can do that with knitting. And I designed a bag and it worked and I liked it, but it was like very, very stretchy. And this is also like this stretches very well, but this one's like slightly more secure. So that was
Mhm.
kind of like where I got inspired to make this bag because I was like, I want to be able to do that. If they can do that in crochet, I bet we can do it with knitting. Because, really I should probably just learn to crochet, but instead I just, found a different solution. So that's some of it. Some of it is I like see a yarn and I'm like, ooh, I want to, I can picture the yarn in like this sort of way. Or I have some extra yarn. So like I have this hat here. My son requested a sweater a few years ago and I had leftover of this yarn and I was like, you know what? It looks really cozy. And so I designed a hat. Um, and again, you can kind of see, I don't know if you can see in the camera, it's very repetitive in what it is. So very simple and easy. But so I don't know, it's kind of sometimes I go like a very long time without like any inspiration, and sometimes it like just hits me. And then sometimes I'm like, okay, I have that idea in my head and I need to wait until I have like the mental time and energy to actually sit down and write it. But yeah, it comes from all sorts of different places.
Mm-hmm. I do love the texture, texture, sorry, of that hat. It looks really squishy and cozy, as you said.
Yeah.
And That's really interesting with that bag, because a lot of the times we see crochet trying to imitate what knitting can do,
Yeah.
and you went for the reverse. That's fun, and it might have been a challenge. I can imagine, because the properties of crochet fabric and knitted fabric are not the same at all.
Yeah.
So you had to work to get there. Really cool.
Yeah.
And what do you want crafters to feel when they make one of your designs?
I want them to feel relaxed, I guess, and
Mm.
and happy and like they're enjoying the process, or maybe it's just like a mindless knit that they can just let their mind wander and really just like, because it's good to be challenged and it's good to, try new things and push yourself, but at the same time, knitting can be a very cathartic experience. And so I like to think that my designs kind of aid in that, and just you can kind of let yourself go and not, be like counting constantly or doing any of that. And it can just be kind of a nice, peaceful get into Zen knitting.
And when you see makers making your designs, do you feel the same thing as you do when you sell something that you have knitted yourself? Is there a difference?
Yeah, I mean, I get excited for both. I did a craft fair yesterday and sold a bunch of hats and like made me feel really good. But seeing that like somebody saw something that I designed and they wanna make that, like that it does feel different. And it feels really good too, but it feels very good in a different way. Um,
It's like they're investing their own time and skill. And
yeah,
do you like seeing them putting their own twist on it?
yes, it's
Hmm.
fun. Like, cause it's like, oh, I didn't even think to do that. Like the color choices, or because again with like a lot of these things, like, well, I do have instructions for this to make it striped, um but there's just, because there's these simple repetitive things, you could play around with color like if you want to in different ways. So yes, seeing all of that is really fun. And then so I recently brought these two. I recently designed fingerless gloves, and one of my testers went back, and so they matched the hat pattern. Actually, that's what inspired it. And people always asking at craft fairs, do you have fingerless gloves? So that's why I designed fingerless gloves. So they have the pattern, but so one of my testers went back and she made another pair without the texture in it. So they're just very plain. And I was like, that's such a good idea, because maybe you don't want that texture. Maybe you just want a simple glove, and then that's what this is a nice simple glove.
Hmm.
So yeah, it does feel good, and I get inspired by those sorts of things too, and seeing how they evolve the pattern.
Right, right. And it sounds like customer demands during craft fair is a source of inspiration as well. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
As you said, people were asking for fingerless gloves to go with their hats. So,
yeah. It took me a few years to finally feel confident enough to even try. But this year I was like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna try. So I did. And then of course people were like, well, do they have a flap? And I was like, oh, apparently I need to go back to the design.
there's always something new and something for you to learn as well. Do you
Exactly.
enjoy being challenged when you design?
I do. I do enjoy the challenge. Um, I think it's good. I feel like it's a safe challenge in a way, because like if it doesn't work out, you can just pull out the yarn sort of thing. Um, and then, it just kind of proves to yourself that you can do challenging things. Just in the knitting and in the design process. So, like, I freeform knit this shirt, and the neckline I don't love. But like I learn from it, and I can keep trying. And so it is a challenge to keep, just trying different things. And I do love that.
Fantastic. And what part of designing is the most satisfying for you?
I think when the math works out.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Because sometimes like I for the most part, I do a lot of like freeform designing. I'll do some math in the beginning, but I'll do some freeform designing, and I'll be like, oh, this needs, decrease here, blah, 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 blah. And then I'm like counting my stitches as I go, kind of to see what's there. But then in the end, like sitting down and like actually looking at the math and be like, yep, no, this is actually the math is mathing. And that always feels really good when I'm putting it down on paper and I'm like, I hadn't actually, done the decreases, I wasn't counting every time I decreased how many stitches were on my needle. I was counting the first time and then at the end. And then when I'm writing out the pattern, I'm saying, okay, now you're, this many decreases. I'm like, oh, it did work out. Awesome. And that always feels really good.
Right. Um, can we have a sneak peek of what's coming from you next? Or are you in between?
Yeah, I'm in between. I
Yeah.
was very much because I had a craft fair yesterday, I was very much in like craft fair prep mode. So I was not really designing anything new. And now I kind of want to just like take a break and I've purchased a few patterns and some yarn for them. Like I want to just like take a mental break from designing and like use other people's patterns and design their gorgeous things and have just a mental break. So I don't know what inspiration will me again. Maybe I need to start making some fingerless gloves with a little, flap on them. So
So yeah, knitting other designers' patterns as a way of filling your well for a
yeah,
bit. That's
yeah,
good too.
yeah, exactly.
Awesome.
There's so many talented designers out there. So it's nice to connect like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And finally, what's the best way to keep in touch with you and learn about your new designs whenever they come out?
So I am on Instagram as Double N Knits and on Facebook. I recently set up my website, doublenknits.com. And so I have a tester call page on there. I have all my patterns on there. When I release a new pattern, it will be on there. And then to directly contact me, doublennknits@gmail.com.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Jordann, for giving us this opportunity to get to know you better. And many thanks to everyone who watches this interview. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll check out our other designer interviews. The Fasten Off Yarn-a-Long keeps going until December 31st, 2025, and it's never too late to join. So do check out our schedule for more events and activities. If you're seeing this video after the end of the event, please sign up for our newsletter to be notified when the next edition starts. Find the links in the description below, along with all of the links to Jordann's website and Instagram. Thanks again, Jordann, and happy crafting.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.